Don't you have some insecurities about the way you look? I know you did, back when you were younger. Are we now discussing my breast? Yes, your breast is the topic of our conversation. The Arabic name Salma Hayek means calm. Her life hasn't been like that, though. It's a series of struggles in a glamorous but gate-kept Hollywood against discrimination, dismissal, and self-assertion. Salma has evolved into more than just a beauty symbol because to her work on cinema, her involvement in the Me Too movement, and her support of women's rights. She's among the world's most powerful women. Her transformation from a disobedient Mexican girl to Marvel's Ajak is evidence of her tenacity and unwavering character. And this film will reveal to you the secret corners and hidden glamour that few people have seen, as well as some shocking realities about Salma Hayek that you may not have had the opportunity to fully comprehend. Coatzacoalcos, a seaside city in the Mexican state of Veracruz, is where Salma Hayek was born on September 2, 1966. She was raised in a middle-class home with a rich cultural history and access to high-quality education. Her mother, Diana Jimenez Medina, was an opera singer and vocal coach, while her father, Sammy Hayek Dalmangs, was a prosperous oil sector tycoon. The Arabic meaning of the name Salma is calm or peace, a kind name that reflects her multicultural heritage and stands in sharp contrast to her rebellious, wild attitude from an early age. Her maternal ancestry was Mexican-Spanish, and her paternal ancestry was Lebanese, with the surname Hid. Salma's early years were filled with sunshine, with siesta. She called it heaven in an interview with The Guardian. Growing up in a close-knit seaside village where everyone knew each other's names, playing soccer on the beach, and running wild in the streets with neighborhood kids. However, one person made a lasting impression on her. Maria Luisa Lopez, who was her grandma. I shall always hold her close to my heart, Salma said. Numerous significant life decisions were subtly influenced by that love, which served as her emotional fulcrum. Later, when she was 12, Salma was moved to the United States to attend the Academy of the Sacred Heart, a prominent Catholic institution for girls in Grand Cato, Louisiana. However, she was compelled to return to Mexico shortly after. Later reports state that this is why the nuns found Salma to be a nightmare. With her crazy imagination and rebellious spirit, she terrorizes the school's stringent discipline, frequently pulls practical jokes, and skips lessons. Under her colorful appearance, Salma battled two significant diagnoses: dyslexia and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. These distinctions frequently resulted in misinterpretation and undervaluation in a conventional educational context. However, rather than depressing her, these imperfections gradually served as motivation, encouraging her to adopt a new way of thinking, memorize through pictures, and form a strong emotional bond with characters, all of which would later prove to be invaluable assets in her acting career. Salma had a luxurious upbringing, in contrast to many celebrities who were raised in poverty. Her distinct personality was actually shaped by her neurological flaws and rebellious temperament. And it all started in that little community when a girl named Peace started training for a career of real-world conflicts. If Salma Hayek learned to push limits as a youngster, then it was in her 20s that she started to defy fate by making the audacious choice to leave her home country, drop out of college, and enter the glitzy yet discriminatory world of Hollywood. Salma excelled academically in Universidad Iberoamericana, one of Mexico's most prominent colleges, prior to becoming a worldwide celebrity. In accordance with her family's wishes, she pursued a degree in international relations, but she also subtly fostered her passion for theater by studying acting. Her debut part, Princess Jasmine, in a children's adaptation of Aladdin, came when she was 18. However, it became a nightmare rather than magical. Salma once described it as a professional disaster, a situation characterized by disorder, rudeness, a lack of professionalism, and emotional loneliness in a place where no one seemed to care about the players' feelings. She was full of tip when she took the stage, but she almost lost trust in her desire. However, Salma only took center stage a year later. She rose to national fame in 1989 as the lead in the television drama Teresa. Her innocent yet crafty persona enthralled Mexican viewers. Salma was a budding star at the age of 22, being courted by the media, TV stations, and advertisers. However, just as everyone believed she had arrived, Salma discreetly packed her things and decided to take a different route. America. America. She first traveled to Los Angeles in the early 1990s, albeit only for a brief vacation, but Hollywood drew her in like a magnet. After consulting with acquaintances in the profession, Selma reached a terrible conclusion. At the time, young actresses had few substantial possibilities in Mexico's moribund film industry. She had to leave if she really wanted to pursue her passion for art and filmmaking. In order to start again from scratch, she voluntarily gave up her renown back home and remained in the United States. But there was a price for that choice. It was more than a simple geographic shift. It was a contentious departure from both the industry she once blazed a trail in and her growing celebrity status. The Mexican media reacted negatively when Salam declared her intention to seek a career in cinema in Hollywood. According to several media, she was pursuing worldwide dreams, Americanizing herself, and betraying Mexican entertainment. Because she dared to go beyond the boundaries set for her, she was even once judged unfit to represent classic Latin beauty. However, Salma did not receive a warm reception in the United States. Rather, she was confined by discrimination, a limited command of English, a distinctively Latin appearance, and an unknown name. "Are you here to play the maid?" was a direct question thrown at a woman who had previously led Mexico's TV ratings during early tryouts. She was viewed as a sellout back home. She was viewed as an outcast in Hollywood. Where was she supposed to be? Not at all, but instead of snapping or playing the victim, Salma decided to quietly improve herself. Her Latin heritage was not rejected, my teacher said. She was adamant about showing the world that Mexican women were more than just supporting actors. She gradually carved out a position for herself from that very area of solitude, one that no one could take away or grant. Salma received instruction from the renowned acting instructor Stella Adler, who had worked with Robert Darrow and Marlon Brando. Salma had to contend with her dyslexia, the language barrier, and her ADHD diagnosis in secret, in contrast to her classmates who received instruction in their mother tongue. She was learning how to overcome herself, not just how to follow lines. No longer the lost Princess Jasmine from that children's play, Salma was now a quiet warrior knocking on the doors of American cinema with a message in her heart. Salma once admitted, "I was afraid people would think I was only famous because I made money for others. I was afraid I was actually a terrible actress." However, that fear is what kept her going and what helped her hold on to Hollywood one day at a time. "I didn't come here to play a side role in anyone's story." Salmique was never given opportunities. Instead, she had to fight for every role and every minute of screen time. Robert Rodriguez's 1995 casting of her as Carolina, the saucy, seductive love interest of Antonio Banderas' El Mariachi, marked her first major role in a Hollywood movie, but it almost cost her everything. When Columbia Pictures saw how well Salma and Banderas bonded during the audition process, the studio insisted Rodriguez include a crucial scene, the intimate moment between the two characters, that was not in the original script. Weird. Salma was taken aback and objected, as she had never filmed a sex scene before, but Hollywood doesn't give in to sentimentality. Rodriguez attempted to tell Salma that the moment was required, but she was unable to remove her towel or act normally, and she said, "I just kept crying." Whew. Banderas sympathized with Salma. "I started crying every time I attempted to take off the towel. I was afraid, not because I felt self-conscious about my appearance, fearful of losing command." A 1-hour shot turned into an 8-hour one. Salma believed she would lose her job. And Rodriguez chose a different approach, shooting in brief segments that would be assembled afterward. Although the outcome was sensual, the actress who produced it was emotionally spent from stress and moral dilemma. Moments like this led Salma Hayek to redefine beauty as the boundaries you're ready to transcend in order to be recognized for who you really are, rather than as something in the body. Salma gradually established herself in Fool's Rush and Dogma, Wild West, but these were only preparatory works for her greatest life passion, Frida. Salma Hayek saw Frida as more than a biopic. Bringing the story of famous painter Frida Kahlo to the big screen took 8 years. A path paved with obstacles, suffering, and unwavering fortitude. Hayek had been working on the project since 1994. She wasn't only interested in taking the lead. She wanted to oversee the story, develop it, and pay the utmost respect to Frida's legacy. Frida's legacy. She personally persuaded Alfred Molina to portray Diego Rivera, found director Julie Tamar, negotiated studio money, and obtained the rights to utilize Coe's artwork from Dolores Olo. However, Hayek had to deal with Harvey Weinstein once the project was accepted to Miramax. She described how Weinstein removed her from events, yelled at her, and placed absurd demands on her in order to keep the project going, in addition to demanding sex, in a very personal opinion piece for the New York Times. He even threatened to kill her at one point. "I'll murder you." Don't assume that I can't. Hayek consistently turned down his requests for communal showers, massages, or nude scenes with other people, as well as his sexual approaches during the filming process. Weinstein responded to her refusal by making her rewrite the script, find $10 million in funding, hire an A-list cast, and find a director. All at no expense. He was not finished even after complying. It was never in the script, but he insisted that she have a completely nude sex scene with another lady. Hayek had a meltdown on the day of the shoot. She needed tranquilizers to get through it, and she vomited and convulsed. "It was the only way I could finish the scene, but it wasn't sexy," she wrote. Hayek completed the movie in spite of the oppressive demands and misuse of authority. Frida made about $25.09 million in North America, $30.04 million abroad, and $56.03 million overall. The movie made more than 4.7 times its $12 million production budget. Despite having a small $25,996 opening in just 5 cinemas, Frida went on to reach 794 screens and averaged 8 showings, 2 weeks per location, demonstrating its enduring appeal. It brought in about $59 million in Mexico, demonstrating the resounding support of Salma Hayek's and Frida Kahlo's local audiences. Frida became the first Mexican woman to be nominated for an Academy Award in 50 years after receiving 6 nods, including one for Best Actress for Hayek. By sharing my story with others, I hope that people would get why it was so difficult and why we had to wait for so long. Frida's narrative became a statement of art, feminism, and the strength of perseverance in a world that once did not have space for voices like Salma Hayek. She wrote, "Men harass because they can. Women are speaking out today because finally we can." Salma's career stopped being a survival tale after that. It turned into a narrative of choosing. She experimented with comedy, drama, and producing before moving on to action blockbusters like The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Her portrayal of Ajak, one of the founding superheroes, in the Marvel movie Eternals 2021, however, was her most audacious recent contribution. This was no ordinary role. At the age of 55, Salma donned a superhero cap for the first time, representing a demographic that Hollywood has traditionally left out of these kinds of stories. People of Mexican descent. I'm pleased to be who I am right now. Latina, female, and someone who was formerly turned away for all of those reasons, Salma said. In addition to being an Oscar-nominated actress, Salma Hayek went on to become a producer and advocate for Hollywood's unsung heroes after Frida. She established Ventana Rosa, a production company that supports movies and television shows that support underserved communities, women, and Latinos. She proceeded to flourish on screen in films such as Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Ask the Dust, Savages, The Grown-Ups Comedy, and both of The Hitman's Bodyguard. In 2021, she became the first Latina superhero to be cast in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Ajak in Eternals. In addition to becoming a popular voice in animated films like Puss in Boots and The Pirates Band of Misfits, demonstrating her versatility and timeless appeal, she was named one of People's 50 Most Beautiful People. "I'm not doing this just for me," she said, and "I'm doing it for every community Hollywood has ignored for years." Salma received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2021, a permanent reminder of her transformation from an outsider to a name etched into the fabric of the film industry. She was named one of Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People in 1996, 2003, and 2008. in 2008, and she was given the Legion d'honneur by French President Nicolas Sarkozy in 2012. Despite being a well-known movie star, Salma Hayek lived a private life and frequently kept her romantic life out of the spotlight, not because she was shy, but rather because of past wounds. Her first well-known boyfriend was British actor Edward Atton, who moved to Los Angeles to live with her in 1997. She spent many years navigating loneliness, doubt, and unfulfilled romances before finding peace with her current husband. Salma is a very busy woman, but we've always kept in touch whenever we could, Ad said after they parted ways amicably after 2 years of dating. Despite their breakup, they were still close friends, a tender start to a romantic voyage that would turn out to be anything but easy. Salma soon began seeing Edward Norton, an actor and film producer she met through a mutual chiropractor, in a more well-publicized relationship. From 1999 to 2003, they were together and often attended athletic events and movie premieres together without speaking to the media. "We did thousands of things and no one knew," Salma once remarked. Salma's Kid co-star in Spy Kids 3D unintentionally announced their separation, signaling the end of a very emotional connection. "It was like I had a parallel life that the media never saw." She then started dating Josh Lucas, an actor from Sweet Home, Alabama, in 2003. Due to the difficulties of filming across continents, the romance ended after about a year. Despite being covert, these relationships had a lasting effect on Salma. As Lucas acknowledged in a GQ interview, when both people are working, distance becomes an issue. "Salma was in South Africa. I was in Australia. We broke up because we couldn't be together. I loved the wrong people," she said at one point. "Long periods of loneliness can cause you to see the good in people who aren't the right fit for you." Her loneliness, mistakes, and feeling that no one really understood her made her more cautious and guarded in love, and she learned to heal herself before opening up to Francois-Henri Pinault, the man who would be her last. When Salma met French businessman Francois-Henri Pinault, chairman of the Kering Group, one of the most influential names in global luxury fashion, in 2006, all her doubts about love started to fade. Unlike her previous relationships, this one developed gradually and maturely between two people who were experienced enough to not hide anything. However, even intense love wasn't without its challenges. In 2007, Salma revealed she was pregnant, and in September of that year, at the age of 41, she gave birth to her daughter, Valentina Paloma, a late pregnancy that she once thought was impossible. According to Salma, Valentina is the late-arriving miracle for which she is grateful every day. Salma abruptly announced the engagement was off in July 2008, just as the public was expecting a lavish wedding. No one knew the real reason, with some blaming lifestyle differences and others media pressure. However, just 7 months later, on Valentine's Day 2009, they were married in a private ceremony at the Second Arrondi Small City Hall in Paris. A surprising, straightforward, and oddly personal choice. Unable to have more children after Valentina, Salma decided to take a different route to a large family, adopting Pinault's 3 children from past relationships as her own and raising them all with the same respect and without distinction. Motherhood, in her opinion, isn't about biology, it's about the daily decision to love. Despite being married to a billionaire, Salma Hayek maintains her own finances, has no prenuptial agreement, and always feels she has to earn money. Despite her glamorous persona, she is a woman who is driven by intelligence, instinct, and an unwavering sense of independence. Salma once said she loves her husband, Francois-Henri Pinault, because he supports and encourages her passions while respecting her autonomy. In an interview with WSJ, Salma stated, "I like that pressure, and now I've decided I want to earn even more." She also mentioned that Pinault finds her work ethic very admirable, even sexy. Salma has never been afraid to admit that, even though she lives in luxury, she finds it annoying that people want to befriend her based solely on her wealth. She continues to post simple and honest family images, wedding photos, and everyday events on Instagram. In April 2024, she said on her 15th wedding anniversary, "There are no words to express the happiness of finding your other half. Never take it for granted, those who discovered it. For those who still believe, never give up." Salma is both strict and understanding with her daughter, Valentina. She once forbade her daughter from having a phone, even though all of her friends had one, so that she would learn to wait for the right time and wish for something. However, she also lets Valentina grow up and is currently fostering business ideas with her teenage daughter, Fauna Solid. As a late-blooming mother, an independent wife, and a woman who has never asked for permission, Salma Hayek embodies love with grit, happiness grounded in responsibility, and a daily deliberate choice. She doesn't live in fairy tale romances, but when she does, she loves as a grown woman, willing to leave when necessary, and brave enough to stay when she knows she's found the right one. Although Salmique's life hasn't been filled with significant scandals, her career and public life have endured a number of noteworthy controversies, each of which exposed her values, her boundaries, and the harsh realities that a famous woman must deal with. In 2017, when the Me Too movement swept through Hollywood, Salma Hayek became one of its most brave spokespersons by speaking out against producer Harvey Weinstein. Weinstein not only repeatedly demanded sexual favors, but once threatened to kill her after she was rejected, according to a powerful essay she wrote for the New York Times. Salma was forced to perform a fully nude scene with another actress during the filming of Frida, which wasn't originally planned. The feeling that no one wanted to hear my story anymore, because I was nobody, was the most painful thing, she said. But she told it and became part of a powerful cultural shift in Hollywood. She described being pushed to the brink both mentally and physically, needing tranquilizers and throwing up from the stress. Not all controversies, however, stemmed from activism. In 2024, a viral video surfaced showing a tense moment between Salma Hayek and Nicole Kidman at a Balenciaga fashion show. Nicole appeared to avoid posing for a photo with Salma. Rumors of a falling out swirled, though sources close to both parties insisted it was a fleeting misunderstanding and that their relationship remained intact. Conversely, Salma's silence has sometimes drawn scrutiny. In 2022, luxury brand Balenciaga, part of the Kering Group chaired by her husband, released a controversial ad campaign involving children. Though connected to the brand, neither Salma nor Francois Inarritu made a public statement. Their silence was criticized by parts of the public, especially given their reputations as advocates for social causes. Despite navigating challenging situations, Salma Hayek is still widely regarded as one of Hollywood's most principled artists. Earlier at the 2017 Sundance Film Festival, Salma also faced backlash after she was accused of interrupting Black actress Jessica Williams during a panel discussion on gender and racial inequality. Salma later apologized, acknowledging that her words had been misinterpreted and expressing regret that the conversation had veered off course. Salma Hayek is one of the trailblazers who brought Latina women to the forefront of the American film industry. From a different perspective, these controversies demonstrate that Salma doesn't shy away from complexity, but rather embraces it with honor, bravery, and her own voice. She regularly uses her platform and fame to support women's rights, uplift Latina women, and speak out for justice. Her portrayal of Frida Kahlo not only made her the first Mexican actress to be nominated for an Oscar for Best Actress in almost 50 years, but it also marked a significant cultural turning point when she did more than just overcome prejudices based on appearance, background, or language. She changed the way Hollywood treats Latin actors, particularly women. Salma co-founded Chime for Change, an organization that collaborates with UNICEF and other international organizations to advance the rights of women and girls worldwide. And for the first time, a Latina woman appeared both in front of and behind the camera in a film about her own heritage that did not sanitize the truth, glamorize the subject, or soften the gender, political, or sexual conflicts that Frida embodied. Salma was one of the first well-known celebrities to publicly accuse Harvey Weinstein of sexual harassment in 2017, at the height of the Me Too movement. In addition to sharing her own story in graphic detail, she also exposed the dark side of unbridled power and the long-standing culture of silence in the industry. Her name is linked to campaigns for gender equality, public health, and education for marginalized communities in developing countries. In her personal life, Salma maintains a clear stance, No cosmetic surgery, no hair dye to hide aging, no chasing after societally imposed beauty standards. Her revelations gave strength to dozens of other women, contributing to a cascade of changes that pushed forward policy changes protecting women behind the scenes in film. With more than 20 million followers on social media, she uses her image to affirm the freedom to choose one's body, lifestyle, and path to maturity rather than to showcase herself. Both. In 2021, she received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for her contributions, and in 2023, Time magazine named her one of the 100 most influential people in the world. These honors are more than a tribute to her cinematic career. They are evidence of the social influence she possesses. Salma Hayek is more than simply a cultural icon. She is a living example of how women of all ages and backgrounds can redefine expectations if they have the guts to do so. In Magic Mike's Last Dance, 2023, Salma Hayek plays a widowed businesswoman who boldly enters the sensual world of male dancers, a film that perfectly reflects her real life as a woman at an age that Hollywood once dismissed as past her prime. Now cast as the lead, radiant, seductive, and in control. Boof and in control. At 58, Salma Hayek doesn't run from time. She dances with it. With over 20 million Instagram followers, Salma shares unfiltered glimpses of life, from untouched bikini photos to makeup-free selfies and natural silver hair. She no longer trembles like the day she filmed that love scene in Desperado. And her collaboration with Channing Tatum was not to appease an audience's gaze, but to demonstrate that vitality and desire are timeless. Salma Hayek, who is married to a billionaire and has every material comfort, is fiercely independent both financially and spiritually. She once said, "No gimmicks, no hiding." I don't post bikini photos unless I feel good in my body that day. A quiet statement that inspires millions of women to feel the same. Francois-Henri Pinault knows that he finds my work ethic sexy. Salma laughs. She meditates instead of going to the gym. She skips Botox and doesn't cover her gray hair. She disclosed that we didn't sign a prenuptial agreement, but I still feel the pressure to earn, and I like it. I didn't let her have a phone early. Kids need to learn how to dream before they're handed everything. Today, mother and daughter are even brainstorming joint ventures, not just as family but as two women moving forward together. Her daughter, Valentina, is now 17 years old, and she's neither a pushover nor a strict traditionalist. Salma Hayek has nothing left to prove, but because she is no longer trying to please people, the world sees her most clearly as a self-assured, composed, and passionate woman. Despite her husband's status as the billionaire behind Gucci and Balenciaga, Salma Hayek has never lived in the shadow of a man. She doesn't need saving. She's the one who has faced some of the most difficult challenges and still stands tall, radiant, and proud without inflating her age or fitting into anyone's ideal of beauty. She makes her own money, handles her own finances, and takes pride in being motivated, independent, and creatively alive well into her 50s. Does independence still seem like a luxury in a world where women are still defined by the status of the men who stand next to them? Let us know in the comments below, and if you think Salma's story should be told this way, please like, subscribe, and enable notifications. The stories that follow will be equally impactful, and perhaps they will cause you to reconsider your own.